Okay, this is a short video, a repair of a single lever Delta kitchen faucet. This one happens to be the model N480, and I noticed this installation guide is dated 99, so this was put in sometime after probably the year 2000. It might be in there for 20 years or so, but here's what I noticed the problem. I noticed in the last maybe the last year or so, I noticed it, that this base plate called the escutcheon was not rigid against the sink. It was sliding, and of course that's very bad. Where it was sliding, then the water would get in and it was showing discoloration, gunk. Okay, so I decided finally I'm going to fix that. So first thing I thought was, okay, maybe I'll just tighten up those basin nuts. So I went to do that. Here's what I found under there. The basin nuts are very difficult to tighten. I couldn't tighten them, in fact, because they're made of plastic and they were totally frozen up. When I looked at them more carefully, I could see that they're totally corroded. So apparently what happened was, even though these can't rust, the stud that they're screwed onto will rust. And with this having any movement, or it's not tight enough and water gets in, eventually what it does is it rusts the stud. Now in this case, it looks like when it rusted the stud, it actually looked like the expansion of that stud due to the rust kind of split this plastic. That only caused a further loosening of the sink. So this was a deteriorating condition. Probably there was no problem at all, and then once it started getting going, but I only noticed it in the last couple of years, but maybe it's been going on for quite a few years. So getting these off was difficult. I did snap one of these wings and trying to get it off with a wrench. Basically checking online, the only way to get this off is to destroy it, drill holes in it, take a hammer and a chisel to it, things like that. Now it does have a spot where you can put a hex socket on it. I did do that. You can't apply too much force without actually, of course, tearing the material itself because it's plastic. But I figured that would actually do no harm since I'm in the business of destroying it anyway. I might as well start with the hex head. And I think what happened was it actually did start turning. I noticed these splits, and I don't think the splits were caused by my disassembly, because if you look at them, you'll see that it's got the black gunk even on the inside edge of the split. It's not a fresh split, and that one looks like it's been going on for quite a while. Okay, so that was terrible. Now, I wasn't eager. First, the question is, how did this get this way? Well, when I looked at the installation instructions, it did call for silicone between the escutcheon and the sink, but only in cases if the sink is uneven, use silicone sealant under the gasket. I didn't use any silicone sealant under the gasket, and the reason is because I had no reason to believe it was uneven in any way. And when I first put it on, it was snug, and I know that it wouldn't move at all. So I didn't see there was any problem. But that could have been a mistake. So as part of this fix, I said, okay, I've got to use the silicone. And I've got to put obviously new mounting nuts on. I could have ordered new mounting nuts like this. Now, I wasn't crazy about it since they failed in the first case. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to tighten them really hard because they're plastic. If I use this grip, the kind where you just use your hand, my hand is not very powerful enough to get that very strong. And then the idea of using a hex socket on a plastic nut, I didn't like that. So I went to the hardware store. My idea was to just get a large flat washer, okay, and then I had to get some actual washers because I had to engage the stud in a section where the threads weren't all rusted and damaged. So that's what these washers were for. And then I actually put I also had a lock washer I used. I don't have one right here, but that's because it's actually installed right now, and I'll show you under the sink in just 1 minute. The idea was to use this type of a configuration. Now I did that, and in doing that, and then when I was able to crank on this quite hard to cinch it up, but what I did was I would visually check the how close it was pulling down the escutcheon to the sink, and what I noticed was it wasn't pulling it uniformly flat. Even though I tightened it, it seemed as though the gasket would actually start curling up. You can kind of see it there. It's not flat. It's not even being pushed flat. No, so what I kind of thought what might have been happening was that as I tightened the nut, all the force is going down on the central part of this washer. And when if you look at the way this washer, now I've taken it out, it was in there. The washer actually gets dished because it's not a terribly thick washer and super strong. So because it gets dished, the force is not being applied on the perimeter. Like, notice this one is dished in the other direction, so the force would be being applied on the perimeter because the two mounting nuts are right under here and under here. So I decided that this was actually maybe I needed a thicker washer, or I wasn't ever going to be able to get this on. Now, when I did a little bit more research, and I did find a newer version of the installation instructions online, and in that newer one, they actually showed a different type of basin washer. It was this. It's domed, and it's metal. It's not plastic. So I ordered these. The idea on this is when you tighten this, the force is going to be applied on the circumference of this, and that's going to be pushing up around on the perimeter, and that might very well have a better job sealing the gasket. So I've already done it on one side and not the other. I've done it on this side here, and you'll notice that gasket, it looks actually sealed flat pretty good. Now I don't have a before and after, but what I'm going to try to do is hit pause on this one, and I'm going to replace what I have under there. Let me show you what I have under there right now. Okay, now here's what I have. That's the new assembly. Okay, what I have over there is that was my homemade washer, but you see on that one the pressure is being applied into the middle, and it's dishing it in the opposite direction. This one is pre-dished, so this one might be working better. Now I'm going to swap out that other one. I will hit pause on this, and then we'll see if it does a better job on cinching up the escutcheon. Okay, let me hit pause here. I gotta make sure I get the right button. Pause. Okay, I put on the new domed basin nut, and I didn't notice really any difference in what's happening here. It seemed as though possibly, you can kind of see there seems to be a buildup of caulk. Now that the caulk's dried, it may be that it's not going to squeeze out flat, not really sure, or that could actually be due to some other imperfection, either in the underside of the escutcheon. Probably that's where it would be. Now what I'll do is I'm just going to take the silicone caulk and just kind of fill in this gap. I would have liked to have used the domed basin nuts when I first put the caulk on, but I'm not going to take everything off and scrape it down and start over because it may not be a problem. I didn't know about that at that time, so I just wanted to show you about that in case you had a problem with these plastic basin nuts. Okay, that's it. Thanks.